Продовжуємо роботу.
We continue our work at Ukraine Crisis Media Center, and the next topic for today is convicted in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. And we remember those who were forgotten. Natalia Melnyk, expert of documenting human rights violations, Donbass SOS. She is an expert on documenting such violations. Yaroslav coordinator of the Oleksandr Pavlichenko, deputy director of the Kharkiv Human Rights Protection Group, chairman of the board of the Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Group, and Olha Kuryshko, lawyer of Crimean SOS organization. Good afternoon to everyone who is present. Today we gathered here in order to discuss such important topic as the situation in which convicted people are in the occupied territories. This issue remains unresolved, and there are a lot of issues that need addressing. The issue of the use of national legislation in the terms, and also re-socialization of such people, also returning them to the territory that is under control of the state. So this topic is important, and we signed the open letter on the 30th of October 2017. This letter is to the President of Ukraine, authorized representative of the President on peaceful resolution of the conflict on Donbass, Ministry of Justice, authorized representative of the Supreme Council on Human Rights and monitoring mission of UNO on human rights, and this was translated into English and was sent to our international colleagues. And also there is analysis of the situation concerning convicted people in occupied territories. Today we have a guest, Galina. She is from monitoring institution at the Supreme Council on Human Rights, and I give her the floor now. Good afternoon. I would like to say that one of the main tasks of the authorized representatives, is the task concerning transfer of our people from non-controlled territories to the territory that is under control of the state. And concerning our data, we have lists in the Secretariat of the Supreme Council. There are a lot of addresses. Each week we get about 10 to 12 addresses from convicts who serve in the uncontrolled territories, and from their relatives who wanted to serve the sentence in the territory of Ukraine. And in the uncontrolled territories of Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, we have 27 penitentiary institutions, and there are 12,700 people there, and in the in Crimea there are 4 institutions, about 3,200 convicts, and the authorized representative got the address from these people in order to that they want to be transferred to controlled territory. And in 2016 the commissioner got and as of today we got information concerning 793 prisoners who want to be transferred to controlled territory. Out of these, 415 from separate regions of Donetsk Oblast, and 380 from Lugansk Oblast. And as we know, in penitentiary institutions, there are many more such people who want to be transferred. Starting 2015, the initiative and direct participation of the Commission on Human Rights, because this is the important aspect of this matter. There were 9 successful transfers of people who were convicted from separate regions of Lugansk Oblast and Donetsk Oblast, and Lugansk Oblast does not cooperate with us. And from Donetsk Oblast, they transferred 168 such people. There were 3 transfers, in which 49 people were transferred in 2016. 4 transfers were made, and 84 people were transferred. And in 2017, there were 33 people transferred. 166 people on the whole. And as of today, there are no opportunities to carry out the same measures concerning those people who are in Lugansk region. And in the course of parliamentary control concerning the rights of people who are in such penitentiary institution, we sent address to General Prosecutor's Office, to the Ministry of Justice, and also to the monitoring mission of OSCE and the Red Cross to help to transfer these people, and also to Secretariat. We have addresses to transfer those people who were in detention facilities in Crimea. Out of those people who are in who are detained in Crimea, we divide these people in several groups. First group, those who were convicted by courts of Ukraine until 18th of March 2014, and that are that are held in Crimea, and we have 22 people in this category. Second group are convicts that were sentenced until 18th of March 2014, that were transferred to Russian Federation, 26 people. So they were their cases were requalified, and they were sent to serve their sentences in Russian Federation. And third category are those who were sentenced by occupation authority of Crimea. We have 72 people in this category. And in the course of the preparatory work, Larry Ludkovska and with the representative of Russian Federation carried out long negotiation. And on the 26th of February 2016, there was a visit of the ombudsman of to Simferopol detention facility, and they discussed the issue of persecution and pressure and the use of excessive force by law enforcement bodies in the course of search and detention, and the problems of the system and the automatic gaining of Russian citizenship issue. And you know that those convicts, they were forced to take citizenship of Russian Federation. And the course of cooperation on the 17th of March this year, with the use of ad hoc procedure, they transferred 12 such people who were held in penitentiary facilities. They were brought to the mainland Ukraine. They were sent to Mykolaiv detention facility, and then their fate was decided at site. So this is the information from the Secretariat of Ombudsman and Human Rights at the Supreme Council. So we are really grateful to you that the Office of Ombudsman and Valeria Vladimirovna is really implementing measures in order to return our people. In this work concerning return of these people, do you have cooperation with the other bodies of power? Because the Ministry of Justice is directly responsible for this, and they have proper bodies who should carry out oversight, and the Ministry of Justice should have transferred these institutions. So do you have information about it? Unfortunately, I do not have such information. I know that the Ministry of Justice, they work slowly in this, and General Prosecutor's Office and the SBU are more active in this. Thank you. Next, the floor is given to Natalia Melnyk, the representative of Donbass SOS organization, and she will tell us about the situation concerning people who are held in territories that are not controlled by the state. So Donbass SOS got a lot of addresses from convicts and from families of those who are held in penitentiary facilities in Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast. Sometimes they tell about just terrible things that are going on there. And their consent, we document all instances of violations, and we hope that time will come and all this will be properly investigated. Due to limited time, I would like to focus on the most systemic violations. In order to provide more information, I will just read. All surveyed said that they were not evacuated and left in danger. They cannot serve their sentence according to Ukrainian legislation. They cannot be released due to Savchenko law, and they cannot complain to Ukrainian bodies of power. And the convicts, they cannot meet with their relatives. They cannot get parcels or letters from their relatives. And after the territory was not under control, and also there is bad catering and in medical institutions, there are no medicines, or sometimes relatives can bring medicines, but the most difficult situation is when relatives cannot bring those medicines. So the term remain the same, but there are instances when they change the term of punishment. Those who were sentenced for life, for the courts of so-called DPR, they changed the punishment for 15 years. So some of them will be released soon due to these review decisions. So those some of them were transferred to other penitentiary institutions, or they were transferred several times. So it is difficult to identify the place where they serve their sentences. So the situation is in Donetsk Oblast. Also, there are applications to be transferred to Ukraine, but the authorities do not want to register these applications, or there is no proper paperwork on this, and also they are rejected, and they believe that people who live in DPR and LPR, that they are the citizens of this, and some people were in the middle of military actions. They were shelled, and there were people who were wounded or killed. I won't speak about Chernuhinska penitentiary facility. There is a lot of information about this facility. Until now, we do not know the fate of many people who stayed there at that time. In this photo that you have here on the slide, Makivska Penitentiary Facility 32. This photo was made in summer 2014. This photo was provided by relatives who were there at that time. So the shelling was for half a year, then there were sporadic shellings, and 4 convicts died. 2 died because the medical help was not provided timely. Also, heavily wounded were brought to medical facility, but there were no personnel to provide medical help to these people in shelling. So also this is damaged housing of penitentiary facility 32. Michurinska Penitentiary Facility 57 in Gorlovka. In during ATO, more than 100 shells hit this area. 2 to 7 people died here because of shelling, and we see that in some windows there is no glass, and some of them are just so here you may see that due to shelling, due to so you see the conditions convicts face in this colony. So there is no heating, and in Makivska facility and in Yakivska 52 there's no heating. They put some boilers, but this is not enough to maintain proper temperature. In Yakivska facility 52 there were shellings, and there was direct heat in the canteen. One of the convicts died and was shell-shocked. There were problems with catering, and the worst situation with the catering was at the end of 2014 and at the beginning of 2015 in facility 97 that is in Makivka, and there is a citation from one of the convicts who stayed there at the time. In this facility in 97, catering was always bad, and when the colony was under control of Ukraine, it was the case. But from October, they started to feed us really badly. They provided only 150 grams of water and cabbage, and our relatives were not able to bring food because of shelling, and we were hungry. And some convicts had problems with their stomach and legs. Sometimes people just fell because of hunger, and they were brought to interregional hospital, and each month several people like this were brought out, and they said that the representatives of the Red Cross came there. They looked at their bellies and legs, and they were really impressed, and other convicts from other convicts that convict that was in interregional hospital in the territory of the facility 124. He said that he saw people from colony 97, and one of the persons weighed 47 kilograms. So in October October, there was a direct hit in the industrial zone and the residential quarters. 1 convict died and 10 were wounded, and about 100 people fled because of panic, and then part of them returned, and part were able to go to Mariupol, and we do not know the fate of others, and maybe they were blown up by booby traps, and the majority informs that these people were used as a human shield, and there was some military equipment, and also there were many instances when people were held without any proper grounds. So they have the decisions of Ukrainian court that they are under amnesty or that they should be released due to Savchenko law. They are not convicts, but they are still in the colony. Rezhepa Vadim Anatolievich is in Inakivsk facility 52, and in 2014 high specialized court reviewed his case and cancelled his punishment, but this person is still in the facility. And also there is forced labor in the facilities of Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, and there was one case, a person worked from 7 until midnight, and some people said that they work voluntarily, but they do not get any pay. Also, we record facts that they are included into the illegal armed groups, or they get such proposals. Those who went to the military, some of them were forced to do so. Also, some people are beaten in Krasnovudsky colony 19 and 62, and people suffer from beatings in the cells. And last Thursday, in Sloveno-Serbsk institution number 60, a person was beaten. Also, people are not able to be transferred, and they are in despair. Some of them went on hunger strike or cut their veins. So the difficult also people who have pro-Ukrainian views also suffer a lot, and they are Mykola Kaznachey. He is in institution number 124, and the whole winter he spent in isolation. And he said that he was said that no one will be transferred from this institution, and he protested against these actions, and he said that he won't work because any products that are produced will support DPR. And he started to have psychological problems. He decided to commit suicide, and it was timely seen, and a psychiatrist came, and he was treated with electric shock, and Seltetsky and Berdiansky Vadim and Vakachuk Ivan, who are detained in the Inakivsky Institution 52. The personnel of this institution say that if these people are transferred, this will be done not soon. And one person was his jaw was broken because he sang anthem of Ukraine. So you see that there is the place for some deeds. So not all crimes are known, and people are in danger, and they are afraid to tell about it, or they do not allow to make this information public. I would like to add that according to some estimates, we have 10,000 convicts, and the representative of Ombudsman said that maybe 12. So some of these convicts, they are really suffered a lot, and for 3.5 years they see that Ukraine do not want to get them back. And speaking strategically, I believe that it is really bad that such people they really suffer, and they are in the hands of the terrorists. And I would like to ask to tell the story. Natalia knows these people. She cooperates with them. So the examples of are really terrible. I would like to say one thing. So we knew that we will have this event, and I was asked, you say about the figures of 2014, and what are the figures now? And I said, you know, I don't know, because there is a big migration, and a lot of people are transferred or released, and it is difficult to gather the information and to provide updated information. And it is really great that NGOs take information directly from those people who come from there. So I would like to voice the issue of Crimea. This is an important part, and there are some peculiarities of detention, of servicing, and in the occupied territories. So there is obligatory gaining of the citizenship of Russian Federation, and the representative of Ombudsman told us about it. So a person cannot restore the documents, and State Migration Service now identifies all people when they issue foreign and national passports. That's why it is nearly impossible to restore citizenship of Ukraine, and they automatically become citizens of Russian Federation, and they won't be able to be returned to the mainland Ukraine. And these people also transferred to the facilities of Russian Federation, and these are 2,200 people, so we know this information. And this is due to the fact that in Russian Federation they have different classification of penitentiary facilities, and they do not have some facilities that we have. This is the official version, and the non-official is that this transfer, it is used for people to punish them if they do not want to gain citizenship, or they are just transferred where they won't be able to survive. Also, there are cases of death of people who were transferred from Crimea to the institutions in the territory of Russian Federation. They are not provided with medical help, catering is bad, and people just die. Also, there is absence of mechanism to return such people. If there is some legal grounds, if the territory is occupied, there is no proper policy of the state, there is no proper legislative act that would regulate this issue. That's why the convicts, there is no proper mechanism. There should be international standards used. And also there are illegal detention and bringing to responsibility by courts of Crimea. And we know about 45 people. Hizbut Tahrir, this organization is banned in the Russian Federation and considered reminiscent of Kadyrov cases. For cases of separatism and subversive cases, the case of 26th of February, a case of Sentsov and others. So Russian Federation starts to sentence people according to their legal acts, and there should be clear position of the state relating to these cases, and also use of torture to people who are detained to get some evidence. And this information is reflected in the representatives of international organization. They recorded the cases of torture and intimidation, and also that the lawyers were not allowed to come. So this is the part of situation that is there, and I believe that we do not have time for stories, but please read about how people try to state their position. I give the floor to Oleksandr Pavlichenko. He will provide information about the legal status of Ukrainian citizens who were sentenced in non-controlled territories and those who are released, and what are the ways how to resolve these issues. First of all those who are in non-controlled territories who serve their sentences in Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, they can be divided into two categories of people. And here I may refer to classification that was voiced by Ombudsman on Human Rights of the Supreme Council. And there are people who were convicted by Ukrainian courts and served their sentences and continue to serve their sentences, or who are released starting 2014. And there are people who were convicted by those institutions that are called the courts in Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast concerning legislation that was adopted there. And according to the legislation, there are two categories of people: those who committed criminal offenses and those who were convicted for their political position, for disagreeing with those who are occupants. So there is such a category of people. So when people who are released, they try to go to the territory that is under control of the government, and there is some filter, and a person may face some obstacles, those who were released from the prison, and the documents are not recognized, the passport is absent. There can be a certificate of release that was issued by territorial bodies that are in non-controlled territories, and this person goes to Ukrainian territory, and there are many aspects to be resolved, and sometimes people are released before the term that was established by court. Sometimes a person had some additional conviction, and the term could be increased according to the decisions that were made by that side. Also, the absence of documents, the absence of legal grounds for detention of people we are speaking about today, by those who detain them, who hold them in non-controlled territory. These are the main aspects we should focus our attention when we speak about legality of this issue. And here Ukraine have a big legal gap because this issue is not properly regulated at legislative level. In October 2014, a document was adopted. On the 15th of November, there was a decision of Security and Defense Council to stabilize the situation in Donbass, and the Cabinet of Ministers should have evacuated the institutions to other regions of Ukraine, and there were preparatory works done to transfer the convicted people, and there were several attempts to bring convicts, and places were prepared. There were some actions done to transfer people to controlled territory in order to and some vacant places were created for those who should have been transferred from occupied territories to controlled territories. But it didn't happen. And also we have a situation of the legal status of those people who were released. They should have got the documents, and all the cases all are in non-controlled territory, and people are not able to appeal against the charges, and after they served, they had to undergo filtration and in order to understand whether they were legally released according to Ukrainian legislation. So this is violation of people who served their sentences and who should be released, and the conditions in which they serve their sentences are much worse than in facilities in controlled territories. And today, the Ministry of Justice, they have this jurisdiction over this matter, but they do not implement the policy, the strategy in this area. They do not promote this issue, how to work with those people who return from the non-controlled territories, how to simplify their entry to Ukrainian society. And this was mentioned by previous speakers as well. Ukraine do not help these people to get documents, to have social support and social benefits, pensions. So all the documents are in non-controlled territories, and there is an issue of passport, the issue of crossing the contact line, and people the people are detained in custody before decisions are made. So, and there are so people address to human rights advocate to be provided with some social support, legal support, in order to resolve some issues connected with the transfer of people who went from non-controlled to controlled territory. And practically, this is about the freeing from detention in non-controlled territories. So we should raise this issue now. The state should develop a strategy in order to solve this problem, and the state should clearly identify what the state proposes to such people, maybe some sort of amnesty due to the fact that they were staying in difficult conditions during 2014, 2015, also absence of proper catering, proper medical support, psychological pressure, shelling. They were in the military conflict zone, especially those who went under shellings, and it should be taken into account. And these people, some of them, they tried to flee, and they said that they will stay then. So they stayed in these facilities consciously. They didn't flee. So the state should consider such people as our citizens who should be integrated in our society, and we should help them and to remove the obstacles in the way of their return. And this legal status that is now not identified, they should not be in this non-controlled territory. They are hostages of the gray zone that cannot be controlled. Only the Red Cross had the access, but they do not make information public, and this is one of the conditions for them being able to work in these territories. So here we have international institutions, and according to Article 29 of Criminal Code, there are many entities that can visit these penitentiary institutions, and the situation should be under control of society and politicians. And in non-controlled territories, there is no opportunity to carry out such control, and absence of control is the risk of a cruel attitude towards the prisoners. Now I will end. So I would like to ask Oleksandra Romantsova to make some brief conclusions of this important topic. I represent the organization that joined the coalition on the documenting of human rights in the territory of occupied parts of Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast. Also, we coordinate Let My People Go project that observed the situation concerning political prisoners and the actions that are ongoing in Russia and in Crimea, and how people get from Crimea to Russian Federation as well. So speaking briefly, so we have 3 zones in Ukraine, and people who are in detention facilities, in penitentiary facilities, in all 3 zones, people face a lot of problems And being in Crimea, being in controlled territories of Donetsk and Donbass Oblast. And in Ukraine, there is no simple regime for these people, and Ukraine is obliged to provide a regime in this territory to for people to serve their sentence in proper conditions, and international partners and Ukraine should search international partners to pressure Russian Federation in order that the prisoners won't be transferred from Crimea to Russia, and that people are not detained for political reasons, and those people who are in the Donetsk and Lugansk regions, they should have a special regime, and there should be a separate line in the Minsk process concerning the fate of these people. And also NGOs and Ombudsman Office, they support these people and try to compensate unsystemic approach Ukraine shows. So there should be negotiations and international pressure. That's what we want as NGOs, and we need responsibility of Ukrainian state, and there should be proper order how to return these people to the territory of Ukraine, and then there should be proper regime of for them. And also some people, they should be freed, and they should be defended in the territory of Ukraine. I would like to say once again that open address is placed on the sites of NGOs who are present here, as Crimea SOS, Center of Civil Liberties, and also there are open addresses. They are printed. We can provide them to you for your information, and to have some time for questions. We addressed to implement measures in order not to forget about these people, because there are many mechanisms for pressure, and there are a lot of mechanisms that can be used immediately. Thank you very much. If you have questions, please ask. Dear colleagues, we have time for several questions. First question. Hanna Chabarai, Ukrainian Week news outlet. I have a question to Galina. In March, due to cooperation of Russian and Ukrainian ombudsman, 12 prisoners were transferred. So there were long negotiations before this. Are these negotiations ongoing, and what will be the next? So this is under the control of Ombudsman Lutkovska, but now there is no continuation of this dialogue. Now they have some projects, but there are no concrete events or results. Thank you. Do you have other questions? Please ask. If there are no, we thank our speakers. We thank everyone who joined us today, and we will see what we'll have later. Thank you.